The wheelchair was sinking into the grate. The elderly woman's hands were bleeding, and Emma Hayes was watching her entire future disappear 1 second at a time. Before we dive into this incredible journey of love and redemption, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Emma's story travels across the world. Emma's fingers trembled as she clutched the worn manila folder against her chest. Inside were her credentials, her recommendations, her last hope. The Grandview Hotel interview started in exactly 4 minutes. 4 minutes stood between eviction notices and salvation, between sleeping in her car and keeping a roof over her head, between watching her mother's cancer treatments stop and continuing the fight for her life. Her heels clicked frantically against the pavement. Tick, 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 like a countdown to disaster. Then the scream cut through the morning air. "Somebody help me, please." Emma's body froze mid-step. Her mind screamed at her to keep running, to pretend she hadn't heard. 3 minutes now. 3 minutes, until everything she'd worked for evaporated. But her feet had already turned around. The woman was elegant despite her terror, silver hair perfectly styled, pearls at her throat, wearing the kind of clothes Emma had only seen in magazines. But her manicured hands were scraped raw, bleeding as they clawed uselessly at the wheelchair wheel wedged deep between the metal bars of a storm grate. "I've got you," Emma heard herself say, dropping to her knees on the filthy concrete. The folder fell beside her, scattering her carefully organized papers across the sidewalk. She grabbed the wheelchair with both hands and pulled. The metal didn't budge. Her muscles burned. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cool morning air. "You're going to be late for something, aren't you?" The woman's voice cracked with guilt as she studied Emma's face. "Oh God, I can see it in your eyes. Please, just leave me. Someone else will come." No one else stopped, Emma said through gritted teeth, adjusting her grip. "And I'm not leaving you trapped like this." 2 minutes. Emma braced her foot against the curb and pulled with everything she had. Her dress tore. Her knees scraped against concrete. The wheel groaned but held fast. "What's your name, dear?" the woman asked, tears streaming down her elegant face. "Emma Hayes. And I promise you, we're getting you out of this." She pulled again, and again. Her arms shook, her vision blurred with sweat and tears. 1 minute. With a desperate, guttural cry, Emma threw every ounce of strength into one final heave. The wheel shrieked free from the grate, and the momentum sent Emma crashing backward onto the pavement. Pain exploded through her body. Her palms were bleeding. Her dress hung in tatters. "Oh my God, you're hurt!" The woman reached for her. "I'm so sorry." "I'm fine." Emma scrambled to her feet, snatching up her folder with shaking hands. Papers were missing. Dirty footprints marked the ones she'd recovered. "I have to go. I'm so glad you're okay." She ran. The Grandview Hotel loomed ahead like a beautiful, unreachable dream. Emma's watch read 11:08. The interview had started at 11, 8 minutes late. She burst through the glass doors, gasping for air. Her appearance something from a disaster movie. The hiring manager stood in the pristine marble lobby, a stack of pristine applications in his hands. His eyes traveled slowly from her torn dress to her bleeding knees to her wild, desperate expression. Disgust flickered across his face. "Miss Hayes, I presume?" "Yes. I'm so sorry there was an emergency. A woman was trapped in her wheelchair, and I couldn't just leave her there. The position has been filled." The words landed like a physical blow. Emma's chest tightened. "Please. It was only 8 minutes. I can explain everything. I'm reliable. I'm hardworking. I just needed to help someone who—" "We needed someone punctual, Miss Hayes. Someone who understands that excuses don't pay the bills." He turned his back on her, dismissing her like garbage on the street. "Good luck with your future endeavors." Emma stood frozen in that opulent lobby, watching her future walk away in a perfectly pressed suit. The folder slipped from her numb fingers. Papers scattered across the polished floor like broken dreams. 8 minutes. 8 minutes of compassion had cost her everything. She stumbled outside into the harsh sunlight. The tears came then, Hot and uncontrollable. 3 months without work. Rent overdue by 6 weeks. Her mother's next treatment scheduled for Friday with no money to pay for it. And now nothing. She'd gambled everything on this interview and lost. Emma? She spun around, wiping furiously at her tears. The woman from the wheelchair sat there, but now she looked different somehow. More commanding. Beside her stood a man in an expensive suit, clearly her assistant or driver. Did you get the position? The woman's eyes were sharp, intelligent, kind. No. Emma's voice cracked. I was too late. Because of me. It wasn't a question. Because I made a choice. That's on me, not you. Emma tried to smile. I'm glad you're okay. I need to go. Wait. The woman's voice carried unexpected authority. My name is Victoria Monroe, and I'd like to offer you something considerably better than a hotel housekeeping job. Emma laughed bitterly. Unless you're offering me a miracle, Mrs. Monroe, I don't think there's anything that can help me right now. I'm offering you my son. The world seemed to tilt sideways. Emma blinked, certain she'd misheard. I'm sorry. What? Come have coffee with me. 20 minutes. I promise it will change your life. 20 minutes later, Emma sat in an upscale cafe she'd never dared enter, holding a latte she couldn't afford, listening to the most insane proposition of her entire life. You helped me without hesitation, Victoria said, her manicured fingers wrapped around an espresso cup, without knowing who I was, without caring about my status or wealth, without expecting any reward. Do you have any idea how rare that is, Emma? Especially in my world? Your world? I own Monroe Enterprises. Hotels, commercial real estate, venture capital, luxury resorts across 3 continents. My company is worth approximately $4 billion. Victoria stated this as casually as discussing the weather. My son, Alexander, is set to inherit controlling interest, but he's lost his way. He's cold, calculating. He sees people as profit margins and human beings as assets to be managed. He's forgotten how to care about anything beyond balance sheets. Emma's hands tightened around her cup. And you think I can fix that? I think you can remind him what it means to be human. By becoming his wife. Coffee went down the wrong pipe. Emma coughed violently, tears streaming from her eyes. I'm sorry, did you say wife? A contract marriage. 1 year. In exchange, you'll receive a substantial salary, a luxury apartment, full benefits, and enough money to cover your mother's cancer treatments for the next 5 years. Victoria's eyes were intense now. All I ask is that you show Alexander what kindness looks like, what real struggle feels like, what matters beyond quarterly earnings reports. This is completely insane. This is opportunity disguised as insanity. Victoria leaned forward. And if Alexander refuses, I'll remove him from the company entirely. He has no choice in this matter. But you do, Emma. You have all the choice in the world. The cafe door opened. A man walked in, tall, imposing, with sharp features that looked carved from marble. His suit probably cost more than Emma's car. His eyes found Victoria, then slid to Emma with cold, clinical indifference, like she was a piece of furniture. Mother, your assistant said this was urgent. Sit down, Alexander. He sat, radiating impatience and irritation. Victoria folded her hands primly on the table. Alexander, this is Emma Hayes. In 48 hours, she's going to become your wife. For 3 heartbeats. Alexander Monroe just stared. Then he laughed, a harsh, disbelieving sound that cut like broken glass. You've completely lost your mind. I'm entirely serious. You can't possibly. He turned to Emma, really seeing her for the first time. His gaze traveled over her torn dress, her bleeding knees, the dirt smudged on her cheek. Who the hell are you? Someone who should have kept walking, Emma said coldly. This was clearly a mistake. Alexander. Victoria's voice turned to steel. You will marry Emma, or you will lose everything. The company, your position as CEO, your trust fund, your inheritance, every single thing your father and I built. All of it gone. The color drained from Alexander's face. You wouldn't dare. Watch me. He shot to his feet, hands slamming on the table. This is blackmail. This is a mother trying to save her son from becoming a soulless machine. Victoria turned to Emma. What do you say, dear? Emma's mind raced. A salary, an apartment, 5 years of her mother's treatments guaranteed. Hope, survival, a future. She looked at Alexander, at the fury and disgust radiating from him like heat. It would be completely temporary, right? Her voice was steadier than her hammering heart. 1 year. Then you're both free to divorce and walk away. And during that year, he'd have to treat me with basic human decency? Alexander's jaw clenched. I'm standing right here. Then start acting like someone worth acknowledging. Emma stood, meeting his glare with her own. Fine. I'll do it. 1 year. But I have conditions. Victoria clapped her hands together, clearly delighted. Wonderful. The wedding is this Saturday. Saturday? Emma and Alexander shouted in unison. 3 days from now. I've already booked the venue, ordered the dress, arranged the officiant. No time like the present, darlings. 2 days later, Emma stood in a dressing room that cost more per square foot than her apartment, wearing a wedding dress that cost more than a year of her salary, preparing to marry a man who looked at her like she was something unpleasant he'd stepped in. The wedding was small, cold, efficient. Alexander's vows were monotone. His kiss so brief and perfunctory it barely qualified as contact. Emma felt like a prop in someone else's play. The penthouse he took her to afterward was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, minimalist decor that screamed expensive, rooms that echoed with emptiness. Your bedroom is down that hall, Alexander said, not looking at her. Mine is the other direction. Stay out of my office. Don't touch my files. Don't rearrange anything. And don't get any ideas about this arrangement being anything other than a business transaction. Wouldn't dream of it, Emma replied. Where should I put my things? Guest room. Second door on the left. I have work to do. He disappeared into his office. The door shut with a definitive click. Emma stood alone in that beautiful, cold apartment and wondered what she'd signed up for. The first week was war by ice. Alexander left before dawn, returned after midnight. When they crossed paths, he barely acknowledged her existence. Emma organized the chaos of his apartment, cooked meals he never ate, existed in the margins of his life like a ghost, until the night she found him on the balcony at 2 a.m, tie loosened, whiskey in hand, staring at the city lights with haunted eyes. Couldn't sleep? She asked softly. He didn't turn around. Go back to bed. I made tea. Want some? I said go back to bed. Emma should have listened. Should have retreated to her room. But something about his posture, the defeat in his shoulders, called to the part of her that couldn't walk past suffering. She sat down in the chair beside him, cradling her mug. You don't have to talk. I'll just sit here. I don't need a babysitter. Good thing I'm your wife, then. He did turn then, eyes flashing. You're not my wife. You're a stranger my mother is paying to perform a role. Don't confuse the contract with reality. The words stung. But Emma held his gaze. You're right. I am a stranger. But I'm also the person who's here at 2 a.m. while you're clearly falling apart. So you can either keep pretending you're fine, or you can talk to someone who has absolutely no stake in your business empire and won't judge you. Something flickered in his expression. Why do you care? Because I know what it's like to feel alone. And no one should feel that way. Not even arrogant billionaires who insult their fake wives. Despite himself, his lips twitched. Almost a smile. I closed a deal today worth $50 million. I should be celebrating. But you're not. But I'm not. He took a long drink. Want to know the truth? I don't even know why. The numbers are good. The projections are solid. Everything's perfect on paper. But I feel nothing. I look at those numbers and feel absolutely nothing. His voice cracked slightly. My father died building this company. My mother sacrificed everything to keep it running, and I've turned it into something that feels empty. Emma's heart ached. When's the last time you did something that made you feel alive? He stared at her. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Then we should fix that. Over the next weeks, something shifted. Emma coaxed Alexander out of his fortress. Small things at first, making him eat actual meals, forcing him to leave work before midnight. Then, bigger things. A Saturday morning at a farmer's market where he looked completely out of place but laughed when Emma negotiated prices with vendors. A movie at a regular theater, not a private screening. Walking through the city without security, without purpose, just existing. He watched Emma interact with the world, how she smiled at strangers, how she helped an elderly man carry groceries, how she stopped to pet every dog they encountered. She fascinated him. This woman, who'd had every reason to become bitter and hard, had somehow remained soft, kind, genuine. One evening, Emma's phone rang during dinner. She glanced at the screen, and her face went white. "I need to take this." Her hands shook as she answered. "Hello?" Alexander watched her expression crumble. "When? How bad is okay?" "Okay. I'm coming. I'll be there in 20 minutes." She hung up, tears streaming. "I have to go. My mother, she's at the hospital. They think she had a stroke. I'll drive you." "You don't have to." "Emma." He was already grabbing his keys. "I'm driving you. Let's go." The hospital was sterile and terrifying. Emma's mother lay small and fragile in the bed, tubes and wires monitoring her weak heartbeat. Emma held her mother's hand, whispering prayers, her tears falling like rain. Alexander stood in the doorway, watching this woman he'd dismissed as a gold digger fall apart for someone she loved, watching her beg doctors for options, for hope, watching her count the money in her wallet with shaking hands, knowing it wasn't enough. The next morning, Emma found Alexander in the hospital cafeteria. "You stayed," she said, surprised. "Of course I stayed. You didn't have to do that." "Emma." He took her hand. "How much does she need?" "For what?" "The treatment. The surgery. Whatever it takes to save her life." Emma pulled away. "I'm not asking you for money. I'm not offering. I'm telling you, I'm paying for your mother's treatment. All of it. The surgery, the recovery, the experimental treatments in Switzerland if necessary. Everything." "Alexander, that's too much. It's nothing." His eyes were fierce. "You saved my mother's life. Now let me save yours." Emma broke down completely. Alexander pulled her into his arms, and for the first time since their wedding, the touch felt real. She sobbed into his shirt while he held her, solid and steady and there. Her mother's surgery was successful. The recovery was long, but hopeful. And through it all, Alexander was there visiting with flowers, charming the nurses, sitting with Emma during the scary moments when machines beeped warnings. Something had changed between them. The walls had cracks now. Back at the penthouse, the ice had thawed into something warmer. They cooked together, argued over movies, stayed up late talking about everything and nothing. Alexander told her about his father's death, the pressure of expectations. Emma told him about growing up with nothing, about learning that kindness costs nothing but means everything. One night, while washing dishes side by side, their hands touched under the running water. Both froze. The air crackled with electricity. "Emma," Alexander said softly. She turned to face him. His eyes held questions. Want. Fear. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he whispered. "What wasn't?" "This. You. Us." His hand cupped her face. "I wasn't supposed to fall for you." Her breath caught. "Alexander, I know the contract says 1 year. I know this is temporary. I know I have no right to feel this way. But Emma, She kissed him, cut off his words with her lips, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. He made a sound deep in his throat and kissed her back like he was drowning, and she was air. They broke apart, both breathing hard. "No more contract," Alexander said, pressing his forehead to hers. "No more fake. I want real. I want you. Actually you." "I want that too," Emma whispered. That night, everything changed. They became real, laughing, fighting, making love, building something true from the ashes of their arranged marriage. But happiness never comes without a fight. 3 months into their relationship, Emma woke to shouting. She rushed from the bedroom to find Alexander in the living room, facing 4 men in expensive suits, senior board members from Monroe Enterprises. "This is a private residence," Alexander said coldly. "You have no authority to—" "We have every authority," the lead board member cut in. "We're calling for your immediate removal as CEO. You've become unstable, Alexander. This hasty marriage to some nobody. Your erratic behavior. Paying obscene amounts for a stranger's medical bills. She's not a stranger. She's my wife. A wife your mother arranged. You've lost focus. The shareholders have lost confidence. The board votes next week. I suggest you prepare yourself. Get out," Emma said quietly. All 5 men turned to stare at her. "This is our home," Emma continued, her voice steel wrapped in silk. "And you're not welcome. Get out before I have security remove you," the lead board member sneered. "Who do you think you are, girl? Someone who actually loves him. Not his money. Not his company. Him. Now get the hell out, before I make you regret ever coming here." The men exchanged glances. The leader turned back to Alexander. "The vote is next Thursday. Get your priorities straight, or you'll lose everything your father built." They left. Emma and Alexander stood in the wreckage of the morning. "They're going to try to remove me," Alexander said quietly. "From the company my father died building. Then we fight back." He looked at her, surprised. "Emma, you don't understand what—" "No, you don't understand." She took his hands. "You're not alone anymore. Whatever happens, we face it together. You and me. Real partnership." Something broke in him, the last walls crumbling. He pulled her close, holding on like she was the only solid thing in his world. The week before the vote was brutal. Alexander worked 18-hour days, preparing his defense, meeting with shareholders. Emma stood beside him, learning the business, meeting with board members' wives, showing them she wasn't some opportunistic nobody. She was Alexander's partner in every sense. The night before the vote, Alexander came home exhausted. Emma had cooked his favorite meal, lit candles, created an island of peace in the chaos. "You didn't have to do this," he said, voice hoarse. "I wanted to. Come eat. Be human for 1 hour. The war can wait." They ate in comfortable silence. Then Alexander spoke, his voice raw. "What if I lose? What if they take everything? Then we figure out what comes next. Together. I've been CEO since I was 23. I don't know who I am without that company." Emma reached across the table, taking his hand. "Yes, you do. You're Alexander Monroe. You're brilliant and driven, and you work too hard. You're stubborn and you hate when I reorganize your files. You're the man who saved my mother's life, who taught me that real love isn't about grand gestures, it's about showing up every single day, even when it's hard." Her eyes shone with tears. "The company doesn't define you. Your heart does. And your heart is beautiful." Alexander stood, pulling her up with him. His hands framed her face. "Marry me. We're already married." "No. I mean really marry me. Not a contract. Not an arrangement. A real wedding. Real vows. Real forever. I want to stand in front of everyone we love and choose you. Not because my mother forced us. Because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Say yes, Emma." She was crying and laughing simultaneously. "Yes. You ridiculous, wonderful man. Yes." He kissed her like it was the first time, and the last time, and every time in between. The next day, the boardroom was a battlefield. 25 board members sat around a massive table. Alexander stood at the head, Emma beside him, their hands linked. Before the vote, Alexander said, his voice carrying authority, "I want to say something. For 10 years, I've run this company with one objective: profit, growth, market dominance. I sacrificed my health, my happiness, my humanity. I believed that's what my father would have wanted." He looked at Emma, drawing strength. "I was wrong. My father built this company to create jobs, to build communities, to make lives better, not just to accumulate wealth. My wife reminded me of that. Yes, my mother arranged our marriage, but what we've built is completely real. And it's taught me that success without compassion is just organized greed. He turned back to the board. You can vote me out. You can take the title. But you can't take what I've learned. That people matter more than profits. That kindness isn't weakness. That love is the only thing that actually lasts. The room was silent. So vote. Do what you must. But know this. I'm proud of who I've become. And if I lose everything, I'll still have what truly matters. He squeezed Emma's hand. The votes were cast. One by one. The tension was suffocating. Finally, the board chairman stood. The vote is 16-9. Alexander Monroe remains CEO of Monroe Enterprises. The room erupted. Some applauded. Others stormed out. But Alexander only saw Emma. Her smile. Her tears of relief and joy. They'd won. That night, standing on their balcony overlooking the city, Emma whispered, "When this started, I thought I was selling a year of my life for money. I never imagined I'd find everything love, purpose, home. You saved me," Alexander said, "from becoming someone I would have hated, from a life that looked successful but felt empty. You saved me too. From despair, from giving up." They kissed under the stars, two strangers brought together by a wheelchair stuck in a grate, now bound by choice, by love, by the absolute certainty that they were meant to find each other. 3 months later, Emma walked down an aisle covered in white roses, wearing a dress that made her feel like a queen, toward Alexander, who stood at the altar with tears streaming down his face. This time, the vows were real. I, Alexander, take you, Emma, to be my wife. Not because a contract requires it, not because my mother insists, but because you're my best friend, my partner, my heart. You walked into my life and showed me what it means to truly live, to truly care, to truly love. I promise to cherish you, to support you, to always eat your pancakes even when they're burned, and to leave work before midnight at least twice a week. Laughter rippled through their guests. Emma was crying. I, Emma, take you, Alexander, to be my husband. You gave me hope when I had none. You saved my mother's life. But more than that, you let me see the real you, the man behind the walls and the armor. You're stubborn and infuriating and absolutely wonderful. I promise to love you, to challenge you, to remind you that life is more than quarterly reports, and to never, ever reorganize your files without permission. More laughter. Alexander grinned through his tears. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. For real this time. Alexander pulled Emma into his arms and kissed her as their family and friends erupted in cheers. Victoria sat in the front row, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief, looking extremely pleased with her matchmaking skills. At the reception, as they swayed together on the dance floor, Alexander whispered in Emma's ear, "Thank you." For what? For stopping that day. For helping my mother. For changing absolutely everything. Emma smiled against his shoulder. Thank you for being worth the detour. They danced under string lights and stars, surrounded by love, having traveled from strangers to spouses to soulmates. All because one woman chose kindness over career. All because one man chose love over loneliness. All because sometimes the worst moments lead us to the best destinations. And somewhere in the city, a storm grate sat empty, the unlikely instrument of fate that brought two lost souls together and made them whole. What did you think of Emma and Alexander's journey from contract to forever? Drop a comment below and let me know what touched your heart most about their story. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our tales of love, hope, and second chances. Until next time, remember sometimes, the detours in life lead us exactly where we're meant to be.